Pam said she was not going to be.
And you are live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 28th meeting of the Annapolis Education Commission. We are super glad you could join us tonight. And we have an action-packed schedule of all the things that have been going on in February that we're excited to talk about. We have an invited speaker tonight, Mr. Marcus Moore, the Director of Transportation for the City of Annapolis. But I'm going to go over a little housekeeping business first, as usual. We're going to have roll call and then a short little introduction to some of the things that have gone on in our cluster over the past month. As you know, it's been Black History Month. So a lot of activities have gone on in the city of Annapolis and in AACPS schools. And we want to share with you. I'm hoping that Will Rowell will be able to come on later and share with you a number of the things that the city's been involved in and that our Annapolis High Black Student Union has done, and lots of exciting things going on. So in order to honor and kick that off, I'm first going to do roll call, and then Laura, I will kick things over to you, okay? So we have Ward 1.
Present.
Okay, Rachel present. Ward 2. Oh, if you could, so Mr. Moore is with us and other people are watching online. If you could introduce yourself and just say a quick blurb about your education interests. So Ward 1.
Okay, I'm in Ward 1. I'm Rachel Carr, and I teach at the Naval Academy.
Great, thank you. Ward 2. Ward 2 is Jamie Weaver, right? She's Ward 2. I get so she's not with us yet or currently. Ward 3, Enid.
Hi, I'm Enid Collison-Lee. I have 2 children that went through the Annapolis feeder system, and I was also a teacher for 41 years.
Thank you, Enid. Ward 4 is currently still vacant. It has been for a while, and we're hoping to change that. Ward 5.
India Oaks, Ward 5, parent of a 8th grader at Bates.
Thank you, India. Ward 6.
Hi, my name is Corey Mackel. I have 2 children currently at Annapolis High School, and the reason for me joining the commission was to be proactive instead of reactive.
I love that. Thank you, Corey. Ward 7.
Hi, Laura Booth, Ward 7. I'm the parent of a 2021 grad from Annapolis High, and I have an 8th grader at Bates who is getting ready to go to A High, and I'm also the PTA president at Bates.
Thank you, Laura. Ward 8.
I am Jess Packler. I am the Ward 8 representative. I have 4 kids currently in the school system, 2 at A High, 1 at Annapolis Middle, and 1 at Eastport Elementary. And I am the Annapolis Middle PTSA president and involved in some various other, in the PTAs in the other schools and various other things. And I joined the commission to support the students in the Annapolis cluster and our awesome teachers and our awesome schools.
Yay. Thank you, Jess. Our at-large members who are present. I'm going to go with Grace.
My name is Grace Matthews. I was an educator for 47 years, and I started out teaching in the Annapolis area. And I truly want to become involved. I see a lot of things that have changed, and they do not look very good.
Okay. Thank you, Grace. On to Odessa.
Okay, Odessa. That's cool.
Odessa, you're breaking up on us. Is it perhaps the rain is messing with Wi-Fi or things? So we can only partially hear you. You want to try again?
Have a the problem is my reception in the
Yeah. How about if you turn your video off right
Can
now?
you hear that?
And sometimes we can just hear you better when it's just audio.
Okay, I just left out my bedroom. So maybe I need to hear me now.
No, you got to turn the video picture of yourself
You-
off. Yeah, down at the bottom of the screen, it says stop video there. Okay, now try speaking. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna,
Video came back.
yeah, click the stop on the little video screen there, but keep the thing that's not muted. Okay, now can you speak?
Okay, I move out.
Much better.
I move out to the living room, so hopefully it's better.
Okay,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Oh, yeah, mother of 3 graduates from Annapolis High School.
Okay, and longtime permanent sub at Annapolis High, knowledge of Annapolis High very intimately.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So then I am the other at-large member of the commission. I'm Janet Norman. I am currently chair, and I had a 2021 and a 2018 Annapolis High IB graduates, and was Annapolis High PTA president in the 21 year. So very interested in continuing to see our schools flourish. Right. So that's who the commissioners are for you. I'm going to ask for any revision or approval of the agenda that I distributed. Does anyone have things they need to delete or add to the agenda, or can we proceed? Jess or Laura, do you want to make a motion? I hear no revision, discussion. All right.
I found the agenda.
There's the agenda. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much. You want to make a motion to accept agenda as presented?
I'll move.
Okay. Any second?
I'll second.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Agenda is accepted as presented. Okay.
Janet, did I miss when we introduced the guests? Do we only do the us, or did we do the guests as well?
I introduced Mr. Moore. Mr. Rowell wasn't on yet, but now he is. We have Mr. William Rowell from the City of Annapolis, Mayor's Office, Special Advisor, and Community Services, something, community, something.
Engagement, yes.
Community engagement, that was it.
You know, what's in it? Yes.
He's just the man who wears many hats, so.
Yeah.
That's what we call him. Okay. So otherwise, everybody online has been introduced. Then I'm going to ask, Laura, can you pull up the minutes? I circulated the minutes from the January 24th meeting, and it's very difficult. I have to look for the tiniest thing I can revise and change in Dr. Carr's minutes, because they are impeccably capturing the meeting. I did make like one little linkage or URL link in there, but otherwise I think it captures the summaries of our discussions very well.
I just noticed, Janet, I would move to make one amendment here. It looks like I
Okay.
just kind of cut off part of a line there that the fourth agenda or fourth item there. Yeah, so that should say gave an update on the AACPS mentorship program.
Okay, is that in the first bullet? Oh, yeah.
It's just right where you are. Yeah, that
Got
sort of, and then that sentence is missing. I can edit that in the draft.
Perfect. Okay, amendment accepted as presented. All in favor of the amendment? Say aye. Aye. Amendment accepted.
Aye.
Okay. All in favor of the minutes as a whole? Accepted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes have been adopted. Thank you. Next, we have public testimony on our agenda. And I have not received any word from the city that they have received any public testimony. Mr. Rowell, have you heard from Hillary or anyone that they've received any public testimony? Okay. Yes.
Sorry, there is one person in the attendee list, Regina Brown. I didn't have her on my list. She might be here for public testimony.
Okay.
No, she's not here for public testimony, but she has been attending the meetings in the past.
Okay.
She's a guest of mine.
Great. Okay. Odessa, after the meeting, if you could send me her email so that I make sure she's included in the invite links and stuff like that.
I can promote her.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, and we have Jamie, could you introduce yourself? We have some invited guests, Mr. Moore from the city transportation director and stuff.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jamie Weaver, Ward 2. I have children at Germantown, and I have been a part of Anne Arundel County Public School System as special education teacher for the infants and toddlers program. And yeah, I live in the city of Annapolis.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for coming. Before we moved directly to our speakers and our updates, I just want to give an overview. I'm going to turn it to Laura in a second. And William, I mentioned that there's been so many activities during Black History Month. And so I'm hoping you have time during your update to cover some of them, because my goodness, you were the Energizer Bunny. There were so many good things happening with the city, with the school system, and otherwise that we'd love to share with our community.
Okay.
I want to make one point, and it's probably been a while. I want to recognize and thank you guys for the efforts you put in here. I mean, I recognize we are all volunteers. We all have other commitments, positions, interests, people to keep alive, things going on. So the time and interest and the emails and stuff that you send, we appreciate that effort out of you. And I just want to remind all of us, the city, AACPS, us, other constituent groups, we're on the same team here. This is kind of like Navy and West Point, battling it out sometimes, where we're all one team in the end. The military has that. It's like, okay, you fight it hard and then you go and serve together. So I see our role here as we're the ones that are going to ask uncomfortable questions. Yes, we are going to be the cheerleaders for AACPS schools and the Annapolis cluster schools. And many of us, Jess, Laura, and I are the administrators on the Annapolis High community Facebook page, and we promote events and we promote scholarship things and we promote signups for Anne Arundel Community College and things like that. But we're also here on behalf of the students to ask the difficult policy questions. That's our role. So I just want to reiterate that and thank you all for asking the difficult questions, as well as being the cheerleaders of the system. All right, so turning that over, Laura has a very nice presentation from Bates Middle School that she's going to explain and share with us.
Not a huge presentation, but I get my cheerleader moment here. Earlier this month, Bates unveiled their new school sign, which says Wiley H. Bates Middle School. I know we've talked in the past about who Wiley H. Bates was, and there's a great video which we can send out again if you would like to see it. I know we aired it at one of the previous meetings, but I want to give a shout out to the Bates School Administration, because every year they go out of their way to talk about with their students who Wiley H. Bates was and why he's important. And I think it's a wonderful story. And this year when they unveiled the sign, they had students in the 8th grade classes. They had Femi the Dryfish, who is a spoken word poet, came in to work with the students, and they were doing a unit, I think, on the War of 1812, and the students divided into groups and did a spoken word poem. One of the groups was given an opportunity to do a spoken word poem about Wiley H. Bates. So I would like to share that with you this evening, just because I think it's a super cool. They do a lot of really cool things to make. This is our beautiful new school sign. But they do a lot of things at Bates to bring arts into everyday lessons. And this was a cool lesson, but also yet another opportunity for the students to learn more about who Wiley H. Bates was and why he was important. So I'm going to hope that the audio comes through on this. So if you can't hear it, give me a thumbs down.
Okay. Can't yet hear
No.
it. You want to
All
turn
right, shoot. Hang on one second. I think.
Can you turn the volume up?
Yeah, no. Can you? It was too low, or you couldn't hear anything? Okay, there we go. Share sound. I knew there's another option. Give me 1 second. Let me start this guy.
Pave the way, helping the old become something.
Whoops. All right.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Who, what, where, when, why? Wiley H. Bates brought up new fates. Advocate, businessman, council leader, politician, the man, the myth, the legend, dedicated to his mission. Who,
Born as a slave, had to pave the way, helping the old become something new. So when we look up his name, we never have to ask.
Who?
He had a heart of gold, and his story should never remain untold.
What? Joined the oldest black congregation in hopes to build a better nation. Worked as a water boy in the Chesapeake Bay. He committed even when the days were gray. He stood up for a black man being accused. Wiley H. Bates blew a fuse. Where?
Came to Annapolis in 1872. That's when he knew discrimination had to be through. He lived here in this great land and always gave a helping hand. He helped the mayor oversee the city streets for you and me.
When? After 33 years, his business grew. He aspired to help his community too. He gave $500 for this land. The money was pouring out of his hand. Why?
Gave many people the opportunity to have their dreams and learn to pursue. He supported the school with not much to lose, for the children of color could have rights too. With every challenge he did embark, at the end of the day, he left his mark.
His legacy still lives on Chase Street today for the students to learn and follow the Bates way.
Yay.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that the spoken word poet was also one of the ones that worked when they did the Bates Story Project. And last year, when they introduced the Bates Story Project, they have an actor who comes in dressed as Wiley H. Bates and talks to the kids, tells the kids his story, and then invited them to share their story. And that's how they kicked off the Bates Story Project last year. But it was a cool thing, and I wanted to share.
Thank you. That was great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mr. Rowell, have you not been the actor portraying Wiley Bates? Yes, yes, we have.
Yes.
We have the talent in
Yes.
our midst.
Yeah, and I was also at the sign unveiling, and it was awesome. It was great to see them performing that. You know, it's like a learning thing for all of us. You know, on how we can embrace heritage, history, and all of those things. So it was awesome.
I said I give a shout out to the administration there, because they didn't just want to be Bates Middle School, because take his name out and just shorten it down takes away a little bit from the history and the story there, and it's so powerful.
Thank you, Laura.
Yep.
That was very nice.
Yeah, I'm really sorry I was out of town. I know Jess was out of town and Laura was otherwise committed, but
yeah,
we'll make sure that future opportunities get circulated more. Just hard at the last minute being volunteers. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to our speaker, Mr. Marcus Moore. And we'll let you tell us what you want to tell us, and then this enthusiastic bunch, I'm sure we'll have some questions for you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the invitation, Janet and Jessica, for thinking of me. My name is Marcus Moore. I'm the Director of Transportation and Parking here for the City of Annapolis. I've been in this role for about 18 months or so, but been with the City of Annapolis in transportation since 2015. I do have a background in transportation with rail and bus and private car, going back more years than I want to remember. But anyway, what I'm here to talk to you about is Annapolis Transit and what we're doing, and entertain any questions about what you may have and how we can help. As you said, we're all on the same team.
Right.
One of the things that
let us know if you need to share your screen or anything like that, and we can.
yeah, no, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have any graphics or pretty pictures or anything like that, or any singing.
Okay.
But what I was talking to Janet about a couple days ago, as we were talking about today, every 5 years, transportation entities like ours, we have a review of what we're doing. It's called a TDP, or a Transportation Development Plan. And that's conducted by transportation officials, well, I should say planners, transportation planners in the field. We, like Anne Arundel County Department of Transportation, we're considered a LOT, or LOT with an S, locally operated transit systems. In the state of Maryland, there's 23, going from Western Maryland all the way down to Ocean City. Montgomery County, no, I would say Baltimore City being the largest, followed by Montgomery County, then Prince George's County. So each year, funds are received by us lots to perform this kind of a review of service, if you will. And these experienced professionals will take a look at a gambit of things: routes, fare structure, microtransit, and they'll do a lot of this stuff or perform these kind of analytics through focus groups of community members, riders, even our bus drivers. They'll also do this through surveys. And this process does take a while because it should be in effect for about 60 months. We had our kickoff meeting last week, as well as Anne Arundel County. I think theirs was maybe earlier this month or in January sometime. And it takes a while. It's not a rush project where they're going to have hundreds of pages of review for the council to look at and make recommendations. So obviously there's a big executive summary that will look at the things I just made mention of, the fare structure, how we do business, where we actually go, and all kinds of things. Zero emission vehicles are now a part of that whole look. And there's something called microtransit or on demand. And we're starting something out as a pilot soon, probably in May. Anne Arundel County has something like that now, what they call in the South County, across the South River Bridge, so around the Edgewater Deal area. But this kind of a review is very comprehensive. A team of transportation planners will be out and about, and we hope to have it completed for review by our city council. I would say in the fall. I don't know if that means October, November, but clearly before the end of the year. And we definitely can get information to you guys who may want to be on that focus group to hear more about, student transport and what we can do or how it can work better for all concerned. As some of you may be aware that have kids in the school system now, but back in the day when Delegate Shanika Hinson was a council person, she introduced legislation, I want to say 2018, that K through 12 does ride Annapolis Transit free during the school day, not weekends, not holidays, but 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. right now. And that's a very big plus for our kids getting around. Also, local schools like United States Naval Academy or even St. John's, matriculating students can, with ID, can travel for $1. So that's what it used to be before this legislation was introduced and passed some 7 years ago or 6 years ago to help better help keep the the community moving and the kids getting to where they need to go as best they can. So I really want to talk about what we're doing or what has happened over time with looking at how we operate, where we go, and why we do what we do right now. It might be a little bit better for everyone here. If you have specific questions, I can help entertain them or take note and get back to you, but I pretty much can answer most of what you may have questions about.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Rao, I see your hand up. Do you have a question? Just kidding, Will.
He's disappeared off my, there he is.
Oh, no.
Enid,
Yes.
Sorry, I'm here, but I didn't have my hand up.
No, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Oh. Yeah, I'm multitasking.
Our Ward 3 rep, Enid Carlson Lee, had her hand up first.
Yes. Thank you for being here, Mr. Moore. Yes, I'm a little confused. You said in 2018, Shanika Henson introduced legislation about K through 12 writing free, but then you said that's the way it used to be. So could you please make it clear to me, is that in existence now or what?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I said something. It is in existence now. I said, yeah, 2018 thereabouts. It used to be $1. But no, it is K through 12 is free right now, and it has been since the fall of 2018.
Are Naval Academy students and St. John students included in that?
As I made mention, K through 12, other students that are matriculating at the colleges pay $1. And what I was saying, what it used to be was all students paid $1 if they could show ID. So to answer your question, USNA is a local school, as well as St. John's. They can travel for $1. When we used to operate the gold route, which is the longest route, which is now operated by the county, Anne Arundel County, it would also encompass Anne Arundel Community College and also Sojourner Douglas when that was in operation in Edgewater. So it's for us, it's the local schools that we touch upon with our service.
Okay. Is that, do you take cash only, or is there other than cash payments allowed?
No, just cash only, and that's a good question about the fare structure. For a regular fare is $2. If you pay $4 on the bus, you can get an all-day pass. It'll allow you to ride all of our services, our fixed route, everything except, of course, paratransit. When I say all of our services, some people think when you see state shuttle, it's for state employees. No, it's the state shuttle because it just, the way it goes, it covers the downtown area for, well, really Church Circle. And it starts at the Naval Academy parking lot there. It goes around Monday through Friday.
Corey, can you mute your phone for a sec?
Okay.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I didn't know it was unmuted.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, to give you an idea, we have what we call the rainbow routes because brown, red, green, and orange. And we used to have the yellow and the gold, as I made mention. The yellow and the gold are operated by Anne Arundel Community College. And the state shuttle operates Monday through Friday, but basically on the loop from the Naval Academy parking there. And when it comes out, it goes behind DNR, which is Herbert Sachs. And it makes a right onto Rao Boulevard, continuing down to bear off to the right to Northwest Street. And it goes around Church Circle and bears off on College Avenue. And right now it diverts off on Bladen Street until they finish the DGS building. It would go behind, it will go down St. John Street and then make the left onto Calvert Street and back a right onto Rao Boulevard back to the stadium. So because that segment of road has been cut off for a while, that segment being Bladen to St. John Street, we turn down Bladen and head back. And that also, I can give you a little information about the other services, but the 70 bus does the same thing. And it would go around the same way if that was when that opens back up, whenever they're done. But to answer your question, We have the red route, the brown route, the green route, and the orange route, and the state shuttle. That
Okay, Laura,
operate,
I think Laura just put those up on the screen. Is that
it was there for a second. It's gone.
back? There we go. Thank you, Laura. Appreciated that.
Yeah, that is actually it, and it's on our website as well,
Mhm.
Annapolis.gov. And if you click on or hover over departments, drop all the way down to the bottom, in alphabetical order, transportation, it'll give you what you see here, and you can also have ability to print out schedules. We're actually creating new schedules with a little bit more information on them that we'll have available shortly. I would say springtime. But you can definitely get them electronically. It's nothing's changed. It's just another piece to have in your hand, I should say.
Okay.
But I want to talk.
Do you have this by app, Mr. Moore? Is there an Annapolis bus app?
There is, and I can tell you what it is. It's not just for us, but it's called the Transit app, and there may be over 500 transportation companies around the country that use it. And if you have your location finder on it, it's going to give you what's near you. So it's not going to just give you Annapolis Transit. It may give you the commuter buses that go to Baltimore, Washington, and maybe even Anne Arundel County. So the Transit app is more of a predictor right now because all of our buses do not have AVL. And that's something we're working on now. So what it is, if you turn your location.
What is ADL?
An automatic vehicle locator. That's the GPS on a bus that you can actually get real time.
Okay.
So that's what an AVL is. We have that on just our Magenta shuttle right now. That will actually, you can see a dot moving across the screen.
Okay. Odessa, can you mute your phone, please? Thanks.
So going back to the Transit app. So if you're, let's just say, in front of the library on West Street, and you say, I want to go to see Will at City Hall, you put in 160 Duke of Gloucester, and it'll tell you, you can choose walking, biking, driving, or the bus. You click on the bus, it'll predict what the next scheduled bus coming by, which of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, but which would be right now, the green route bus leaving the mall, and it's going to City Hall. I'm on Chickapin Round Road. Let's say the same coordinates. I'm at 308 Chickapin Round Road. I'm still going to City Hall. It'll tell me if I walk up to West Street to get it, and tells me that's, a half a mile or how many minutes, normal pace. Or I could take the red route bus to the mall and make a connection at the mall to catch the green route bus to go to City Hall. So those are things we're improving, but right now with the AVL, you're just getting an electronic schedule, which is a predictor. It's just going to predict what the bus should be doing. It's not taking into consideration bad weather, bus running a little behind schedule, or any other situations that will cause it to be delayed.
Okay, I'm gonna ask that if you could send me at the Annapolis Education Commission at gmail.com address, the opportunities to be involved in the focus groups and to have input for the revised transportation development plan. I know a number of our members would like to probably comment on that. Transportation has been a huge issue for our commission for many years. I'm going to turn it over to Jess shortly and then Laura, but I just want to add one more point. That it is not just an issue of student transportation. Since we have our major hub of Annapolis High with 2,150 students 5 miles out of town here, it is a major issue of family transportation to go attend events, to go attend student teacher conferences, to watch sports, to watch band, to watch musicals, to attend the Riva pool there, to get workers from the city to Annapolis High to to, you know, be teachers, to be cafeteria workers, custodians, support staff, secretaries, everything that it takes to run that, you know, giant battleship of a city at Annapolis High needs transportation to fuel that. And so we just want you to consider that it's broader than student transport. And,
Yes.
and student transport extends to sports practices, evening events, all sorts of things, if we consider the broader community transport elements needed to get out there.
Right. As I made mention about the TDP, of all the lots in Maryland, remember Anne Arundel Anne Arundel Department of Transportation is going through it as well. So I would offer to go to both, as we're all in this together.
Yep, great. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jess Packler and then Laura for a question.
Hi, Director Moore. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for the openness and the changes that you've already made. I'm really excited about what you're doing with the Transportation Department and looking forward to a more easily transportable Annapolis in all means. Obviously, when you look at that bus routes and major stops, you can see that there's an entire half of Annapolis that isn't even touched. West Annapolis isn't even touched by our transportation system. You know, and there are a number of students in that area that attend both Germantown and West Annapolis and Bates and Annapolis High, all within the city, but not currently able to access public transportation basically at all. So I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing some changes made and some things going forward. I know that you and I had discussed about adding a stop on Riva. And I was wondering if there's been any, I mean, in the short term, I know we've also discussed with the TDP about the possibility of making it easier for citizens to, because so much of, as Janet was saying, so many services that Annapolis citizens need for daily life, not only the school and the swimming pool, but also the MBA, county offices, the Board of Ed offices, a bunch of different offices that they need to access are there. But in the short term, is there a possibility of adding a stop on an existing route that will make it easier to get? And for those who are watching or those online that haven't been a part of this conversation before, right now, if you are pretty much anywhere south of that red line along Chinkopin Run Road and Admiral Drive, if you want to get to Annapolis High School or the swim center, it's about an hour and a half ride because you have to take the city buses to the mall, and then you have to wait for a county bus, and then the county bus takes you around the Best Buy Dick's Sporting Goods Shopping Center, and then eventually takes you down Riva Road and drops you off at the county buildings. Which is obviously, if you're trying to get anywhere there, whether for work or school or a student activity, it's just not really a feasible a route. And so that's sort of the background of why we've been trying to request some changes and some modifications so that, you know, our families and our residents can really utilize the public transportation system here.
Laura, I think I had that in the folder. I had the yellow route of the thing, if you wouldn't mind looking for that. All right, thank you, Jeff. Sorry, but yeah. Yes, just showing this is the Anne Arundel County yellow route that
right. So
I don't know the direction of it. This is hard to understand that map.
So I have an annotation thing here now, so that's exciting. You get on at the Westfield Mall here, and it goes this way.
Which direction is it heading?
Well,
okay.
I'm really bad at annotating, but basically, can you see I'm annotating? So
I saw you were going the backside, the backside of Bestgate, Housley.
Yeah, that's how it goes, like that.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but it's also the numbers of the stops. You can see 1, 2, 3.
Okay, sorry, there's small print.
Yeah.
in my eyes. So, and Mr. Moore, I think you told me that you all have added a stop at Festival at Riva. And if you could describe exactly the location of that, we were talking about, is that, you know, on the street side of the Buffalo Wild Wings, or where is that little bus stop located?
Right. Yeah, let me clarify a few things. You're absolutely right. The yellow route does go around in the areas you made mention, if it's still the route, I think it is, that the way we had it, which does cover Social Security Administration, MVA, and the like. The stop that was added is on for the blue, the brown and the purple, which is at the end of Forest Drive at the corner of Riva Road, right side heading to the mall. That would be the last stop before that bus goes to the mall. There will not be any other changes until the TDP is done. Counterproductive. That's what they're here to do, to look at what we've done and what they can do, and look at ridership and usage. That's one of the things. One of the things to keep in mind, like the orange route is probably the it's the only one that runs Monday through Friday, but comes up Spa Road, and that's probably the least used route. So I'm not sure what will actually go with that as far as the TDP is concerned. To answer some of the questions that you asked.
Before you move on from that point, that new stop on Riva, I guess, is on the north side by the parole complex thing. So students would have to cross a 6-lane road to get to the other side that Annapolis High is on, the north side of Riva Road. And then the walking distance, Jess, can you look that up on Google Maps or something? So then they cross the 6-lane road, and then the walking distance is maybe 20 some minutes.
It's about 20 minutes. There are a number of students, so that's actually within the walking radius, Janet. So there are a number of students who live there at the intersection of Riva, like in T. Allen, who do walk to school every day.
Yeah.
So there is that, and obviously that's not ideal, but it's certainly better than.
Sure.
So being able to get dropped off there is. Great.
I'm for any improvements. I just wanna keep knowing, okay, that's where the new stop is. Then what are the logistics for kids getting across that 6-lane road and walking toward the Annapolis High? Okay, Laura.
It is a 1.3 miles. It's about a 30-minute walk from Buffalo Wild Wings to Annapolis High School.
Okay. If they've crossed the 6 lanes to get to that, yep.
They can walk. There's a sidewalk all the way down. Most of the kids actually tend to walk on the Annapolis side. Because there's the south side, because there's a sidewalk that goes all the way down, and they don't have to deal with that. I mean, there's a crazy intersection at Riva no matter what, but that right side by Bowens is pretty sketchy, and people are always going in and out of the Duncan. So unless they're going to Duncan, most kids tend to walk down the left side.
Okay. So Laura and then Odessa.
Wait, I had more questions though. I had.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were done. Sorry.
No. I had asked him questions and he was going to answer them.
Go ahead, Jess or Marcus.
Well, I think I appreciate that. And I definitely know that's definitely, so I had 2 questions about the 2 questions. One is, will the TDP, I know you're going to look at current ridership and try to make the routes based on that, but that that doesn't include all the people who aren't riding the bus because it's not feasible to ride the bus. So will there be a citywide survey done to determine, what people would use the bus for, or what routes they would like to see? That's one question. And then second question is just a follow up on the bus tokens and whether PTAs would be able to purchase them at the nonprofit rate, and if so, what that rate is. That we had.
The first one, the KFH group, they bid on it for the whole state, and it could be another transportation planning group, but they've been doing it before I got here. Like I said, I've been here going on 8 years, so this will be the second one. So they will determine, they're the ones that are planners of how to get the best out as far as what they do with focus groups. I can't really answer how they go about it, but each year I'm sure it gets a little bit more in detail as far as their how far they get out to catch as many people as possible.
But
when I get,
so a consultant is doing this for the city, you're saying?
right, the KFH
would
group
have to-
is.
We would
Yeah.
have to contact the consultant.
No, you asked if I can get your information to them, which I'll do, and
Okay.
they'll also be doing it for Anne Arundel Department of Transportation. And as I mentioned, there's 21 others. I'm not sure if they all fall at the same time, but every 5 years. So we get federal funds, and the MTA is kind of the watchdog for the FTA. And MDOT, Maryland Department of Transportation, under MTA, will actually watch a lot of this stuff for us and help us out with planning. So they will bid a contract, which they did with KFH. Like I said, they're an experienced firm of been around since I think 1995 or so, but they deal with assistance in providing assistance to state and federal and local governments to improve public transportation services. So it's not their first rodeo, and they'll know how to get out and get to the masses as best they can. More to follow as you can ask those questions specifically once we get in touch with those planners of KFH.
Okay.
The tokens, I have to look it up, but yes, you will be able to purchase tokens. I'm trying to think if they're bundles of 100. I can look it up real quick, but they would have to be purchased here. And what they are for community projects or programs, right now, every other month, or maybe depending on how quickly they use them, every month would be like the Lighthouse Shelter, Arundel Lodge, Detention Center. Just trying to think of some of the folks that come in on a regular basis. I'm not sure if they grant money that they get to purchase these passes, but they'll come in and we'll prepare them, and they do get them at a discount. I'm going to try to see if I can find exactly the minimum purchase. I'm on our website right now. Hold on a second, please.
So just while he's looking for that, this question comes out of, we were trying to figure out how to make it easier for families that live within Eastport and the Annapolis Middle School and Eastport area to get to and from the school that don't have transportation when we have events happening at the school or meetings, with Dr. Bedell, for example, with the PTAs, Dr. Bedell coming to Wiley H. Bates. And one of the ideas that we had was trying to get free rides for parents, but obviously that's a whole legislation thing. So the other idea that we had was whether the PTA would be able to purchase the reduced cost tokens and then provide them to families to be able to use to attend events at the school.
Okay, I will print it out and send it to you, but basically here's what it is. One ride passes are sold in bulk at a minimum of 100 for $150. So they get a discount on the one-way pass, which is normally $2. It's $1.50. It's for community promotions, nonprofit organizations by prior agreement. We would definitely allow that to happen. So that's something you can get, and they would have to be purchased here. On board the bus, for just general knowledge, the bus driver doesn't make change. It's $1 for seniors, disabled, and those other matriculating students at the two colleges we mentioned. $2 for a one-way adult pass, $4 round trip, and $2 for the senior buying the round trip at the time of purchase. They put their $2 in, they'll get an all-day pass that they can ride for this calendar day. At our office here at Chickapin Round Road, we sell weekly, monthly, I believe quarterly, I know semi-annual, and we actually do sell a few annual passes. There's a couple, I know of one person that's on one of the commissions with the city. I forgot his name. His name escapes me, but he uses it a lot. But you can buy anything great. You need to buy anything greater than one way or round trip needs to be purchased at our office Monday through Friday between 8:30 and 4:30.
Are they available online for those who are not able to get to your office Monday through Friday?
No, they're not yet. We're not quite there yet. Just here in the office.
Okay, I think we would request that be a priority to open up online access for.
Yeah, that takes money to do something like that with technology. So of course, that's something we're just like AVL, automatic vehicle locator. It costs money. So those are the things to bring us more into future service is definitely. I mean, we can ask for a lot of things that we want, and we try to figure out what we can afford and what the council will be willing to vote on, because there's $1 associated for anything we do, even fare free.
Yep. Okay. Odessa has a question.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Mr. Moore.
Good evening.
A few years back, the bus used to go all the way down River Road, right there, almost by the pool. Do you know why
it still
bus doesn't
Odessa.
stop there anymore?
It does. That's the yellow route that's being displayed right now.
Does?
That's taken over by the county. The same thing. It still does that unless they change it. If you look at what's there, it doesn't have all the stops. But unless they made the changes, I think I see it right there. It says River
Heritage Court.
I think she was talking about the Sojourner Douglas bus you used to be able to take from the city without having to get on the yellow line. That's what Odessa is talking about.
That's kind of before my time. That's got to be more than 8 years because that Sojourner Douglas I don't think was open when was the last time it was open? That's the gold route. That's also operated by the county. It still goes to Edgewater.
So just when you were asking about the 30-minute walk from where to where, the 30-minute walk, you say from somewhere around the shopping center somewhere?
Yeah, basically from where it says 9.
It's a 30.
Yeah, that
Odessa, it's basically from there from 9 Claiborne down to down to the high school past Heritage Court. So down to like here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I still don't understand. So why would the student get off at there and walk down to the school?
Because the other option is that they would take the bus. So this is the yellow route, right? So they would take the bus if they were coming from here, if they were coming from Eastport, right? They would have to take the bus out to Jennifer Road to Westfield Mall, where the bus stop number 1 is, and then get on the yellow route, which then goes in that big circle and then goes down. And that's about a 40-minute bus ride. So,
One thing, if I can interject, I really encourage you to talk to Sam Sneed's office because I know for a fact last year, but I'm not sure. I think it's still going on. He was doing something called a shooter, which means he ran another yellow route a few hours in the morning, in the afternoon, which was express from the mall to the Riva Road Heritage Court. I believe it still is because that was the help for the students during those times and in the afternoon. Because what you mentioned going all around the long way of Housley Road and all to get back to the Riva Road Heritage Court was long. So he had another one that ran on the half hour, I believe, that went direct, nonstop.
We'll try and find out if that's still in effect or if that was a temporary measure when Annapolis High was lacking school buses in general when we were missing.
I know one of the issues was that it ran business hours, right? Like so regular business hours, and so it missed. It wasn't useful for the.
No, it was put in there for the students. That's why when before we speak out of turn, asking Department of Transportation there, it was put on not business hours, school hours. So it might have been like 6:30 in the morning to like 9 or whatever. Sometime after the first bell or whatever. But we just need to, before we speculate too much, maybe we can ask.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I went on the website and I went on their website and I didn't see anything about it. So if it is still running, then we do need to advertise that more
I
because
don't-
it's not
yeah.
available on their website.
I'm not sure how he projected it there, so that's why I would rather call and ask specifically. I can try to find out too, because I don't think I ever saw it there, but I think he may have gotten it to like the PIO for Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
Right, but I mean, like, I'm
Yes.
an parent and I haven't heard anything about it this year.
Understood, but let's go to the source who put it out there.
Yeah,
and if it's
without
still
a
there.
doubt. We definitely need to follow up on that.
Yeah. Okay. Laura, you have a question?
Well, yeah, first was just to add on to that, like having bus routes that go to the school during school hours, morning rush and afternoon rush helps students who are getting to school. Yes. However, it does not address the issues of people that are working at the school that may not, like our cafeteria. We're having issues at the high school. We can't staff the cafeteria workers, and they work, a limited number of hours in the middle of the day. So that express route is helpful for students, but it doesn't help the school, and it doesn't help students that need to get home from, like, that want to stay after for sports practices or want to, attend school events and things like that. Parents that want to come up for a conference or something. So I think we need to stop thinking about, I think it's really important to stop thinking about access to the school as something that happens at 8:30 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon. Like, yes, those are access times. And for students, those are times that are probably high for students, maybe higher volume, but they are not by far not the only time that our community needs to have access to that school building.
But the school, those buses are still running. We're just saying that there's an extra bus during those times.
Right,
It's
but I'm
still
saying,
running.
like, when my son attended Annapolis High, we lived down Forest Drive, so I lived down near Quiet Waters. And like, if my son wanted to stay after school to attend he was on mock trial, and he actually works at the pool now there. It's an hour and a half bus ride because he's not riding during that express route period. He works at off hours, but he still needs to get from here to there. So
Yes.
it's an hour and a half bus ride. Now, if you have a cafeteria worker who only works for an hour and a half in the middle of the day, you're asking them to spend twice as much time on a bus to get to and from work than they're actually at work during the day.
Yeah, and that's
So-
what the TDP will look at, because it's like supply and demand, not,
Right.
'cause other things would be an Uber or anything like that.
Are there areas? I
Mhm.
understand that they're looking at that, but my question is, where are they looking? Like, is there a form, for example, on the city that residents can submit thoughts for and say, hey, I don't currently ride the bus because the bus doesn't go where I need?
Remember, the TDP is just starting. We just had a kickoff last week. We're kind of
Mhm.
getting ahead of ourselves that they haven't, they did this way back in 2018 and it was presented 2019. So let's find out how they want to project and, get information out. But
That would be great. Yeah,
we'll
that's my
get that
question. How can we communicate to them that, hey, here are people who don't currently use the bus at all, and this is why. And they would use the bus if it met.
Exactly. And just to bring up what you're saying, and Director Moore, you just brought this up too, the Uber, it's an $18 Uber
No,
from
I'm just
East
saying, yeah,
Ford.
I'm not.
All right, no,
pushing
I'm
people.
just saying that's what makes something like Uber really non-useful. If you're working at the cafeteria, that's 2 hours of your shift in Uber money, right? That's
Right.
so
I wouldn't want anybody taking that. I want them to take our buses, but like I said, we're not going to solve it right now. But I made mention of what's coming down the pike as far as a review right now, and we can keep agreeing what we should do. But let's see what the numbers call for and what the folks groups say, and have the transportation planners present. Because anything we do will just need to be approved.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you for explaining it to us, Mr. Moore, and we look forward to the upcoming development plan time and being a part of that. And we appreciate you coming on tonight to help us learn more.
My pleasure. And like I said, I'll send you what the information is about the passes or the bulk passes to purchase. And I have your email information, and once I get that to the KFH, I will, and I'll get
Awesome.
you guys in touch. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
thank you for all you're doing, Director Moore.
Yeah.
And thank you for your support.
Yeah.
It's a huge need in our city, and we appreciate your efforts.
I have the agenda here, that we have William Rowell and Dr. Joanna Tobin, both coming next. Joanna, do you have a time frame that you have to blast out? Will, who would prefer to go first based on your needs?
Yeah, I
I
don't
have
want
to leave at 7:45, so that's my.
All right, flipping a coin. Will, do you have things that you are ready to talk about?
Yes, and and Dr. Tobin, it's really quick.
Great, awesome.
I want-
And
I mean,
I want her to hear all the awesome things that have gone on in our city. I know she's attended 15 to 20 of them during the month, and y'all have been very, very busy. So thank you.
Yes. So I'll make it very fast, if that's okay, Dr. Tobin. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for creating this space to have the conversation about Black History Month, because that's always meaningful. And it's winding down. You know, we're looking at the clock to when this month ends, but we've had a long list of events. I've some of in the city, of course, through our the city of Annapolis, and some a lot through African American institutions in the city of Annapolis. I've done stuff all the way down to the on the Eastern Shore. But in terms of the city of Annapolis, I'll start with our event. It was a regularly occurring event every Tuesday of the month in February, and it was called the State of Black Annapolis.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about this particular series is we had panelists who talked about particular subject matter as it relates to the State of Black Annapolis. One was art. One was how young people are experiencing Annapolis, and the other was business. And the first, I think, was I'm having a blank on the first, even though I moderated all of them. But
and Will, I just want to point out, I was able to listen to clips from some of them.
Good.
Were they streamed on the city Facebook page? I
think they're on YouTube. I think they're
okay. So I'll send out the link after this meeting so that people could catch that.
Yes, and so every Tuesday.
Well, I think the first one was about art, wasn't it? Wasn't it about art?
Thank you.
First one.
Yes, thank you so much. And Ms. Odessa was there for all of them. And so we appreciate it. The amazing thing also is that it was a partnership with the Michael E. Bush Library. So it gave us an opportunity to activate that space for quite possibly some Annapolitans who hadn't been to the new library. And of course, we need people to get library cards. We need for them to become members and to utilize that space. So that was great because the event we had last night was standing room only. It was beautiful, and that focused on Black businesses. And Alderwoman Rhonda Pendell Charles gave awards to Black businesses who have survived. Survive is a Freudian slip. Who have served Annapolis for at least 50 years. So it was past, present, and those organizations still exist. Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and then the other was which we did last year. So this was actually the second annual Black History Month celebration, and this was held at City Hall, and we focused on the culture of the spoken word, music. And we also focused on food and cuisine, African American cuisine. So we had an opportunity to have really good food, really good music, and we had a lot of young people, and we had poems that were original poems that people wrote, but also there were poems that like Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou. So that was incredibly meaningful. to all in attendance, but it also commemorated a little bit of the city's direct, just in terms of where it was. It a very good backdrop to Black History Month in the city. And then there were what I was really, really excited about, and maybe Dr. Tobin can reference this, but at Annapolis High School, there the Black Student Union and others partnered with Broadneck Senior High. And so there were members of the Black student unions from both of those schools who came together at Annapolis High School and it was a bazaar. There were vendors, there were food trucks, there was entertainment, singing, fashion show, great information, and it was definitely for me, a good moment because. As we all know, there's so many narratives about how young Black children both access education in our school system, but also some of the issues that exist at the community level. And so it was it was an opportunity for them to come together and, fellowship and engage and, exchange knowledge. It was just amazing. So I think this Black History Month illustrated the need and actually the utility in celebrating African American history and culture in spaces where there's diverse populations. And I add that in there because I spoke at Hillsmere Elementary, Bates, Annapolis Elementary, and then I'll be doing Eastport, but we couldn't fit that in because of scheduling during Black History Month. But it was I always enjoy doing it because it's an opportunity for me to also hear from young people their interpretation of Black History Month, and what they know. And honestly, every time I'm completely surprised at how much third graders know about notable African Americans, but even there was a young person today at Annapolis Elementary School when I asked, let's talk about someone and tell me a little bit, about someone Black History Month. And the stock answer usually is Martin Luther King. Well, this youngster said John Lewis, and it just it really struck me as to how it's ever growing. The last thing I'll say is the interesting thing about Black History Month also is driving home the fact that 30 minutes ago is history. Yeah. And I do that with them. I make them look at a clock and I say 30 minutes, which is saying that as we speak, you yourself are, you are writing that book. And so that's the power of it. So thank you for giving me the space to talk about that.
Totally. I've been following all the activities as much as I could catch them on the different websites and stuff, and just thrilled with how much was going on this month. And so I want to, I'll follow up with the links to some of the programs and stuff. I, along with you, know that Black history isn't 1 month, people, it's 12 months a year, 365 days a year in our community. We are living the remnants of our past, our current, our future. And we want to keep celebrating and showcasing things. So,
and also celebrating those from Annapolis, when we talked about Wiley H. Bates, but Rodney Barnes, right? He's out there doing amazing things. Grew up Eastport, Annapolis Junior High, Annapolis High, and there's a lot of people from Annapolis that we need to focus on as well.
Yeah. And I think there will be an opportunity to kind of unpack how, because we can all approach Black history in a bunch of different ways. That's the beauty of it. But we can also unpack the fact that Black history is American history. Yeah. And so it's what we often do is bifurcate the two and then get a subset conversation about Black achievement, Black people. But the truth of the matter is, for me, when I deal with children, I want their takeaway to be that aside from just saying we're a melting pot, but saying all of these experiences and achievements matter because this is, in fact, the history of the United States of America. You know, yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yep, all of it.
Thanks.
I do want to reiterate, I'm going to go to Enid in one sec. I want to reiterate, if you want to connect with the young people in Annapolis, you're going to need to go look at their Instagram pages, because that's where they're promoting what they're doing. The Black Student Union that Odessa helped found and has transformed from the Black History Club into the Black Student Union at Annapolis High is at Instagram annapolis.bsu. And if you need some good news in your day, just follow along with them and what our young people are doing, and the leaders they're becoming, and you'll feel, like William said, the range of things that our folks are involved in. That's the narrative that is not shown. And I love that they did the expo that I heard was fantastic. So,
yes.
Enid, I'm going to turn it to you.
Yes, I just wanted to follow up. Well, the first one was promoting Black culture and history and preservation. So
Yeah.
art was the second one. That's what the first one was, because I tried to sign up for it and it said it was full. But
Thank you.
I think, didn't the city have something to do with the String of Pearls play also?
Yeah, well, peripheral.
Kinda? Okay,
Yeah.
because that was wonderful. I enjoyed that a lot. And to follow up on your last statement, you're absolutely right. Black history is everyone's history. It is American history. And I just hope that one day people will put it as Black American history, because without one, you did not have the other.
All right. All right. True indeed.
All right. So let's keep the connection and collaboration and education rolling on that as we go forward through our next steps.
I want to say something about this super quick.
Yeah.
So Will, thank you so much. It was an amazing month. Unfortunately, I was sick for a lot of it, so there were some things I had to miss, but I heard it was spectacular. Two things I want to say to your point about this being everyone's history. There is an excerpt from The Invisible Man, Ralph Ellison's book. And the epilogue in particular is a particularly haunting, beautifully written piece in my mind of an incredible book. But one of the phrases that always echoes in my mind from that is, "Who knows, but on the lower frequencies, I speak for you." And the point being in that passage that somehow all Americans are heir to this legacy and are living it together. And in some ways, the folks who are most at risk if this history is not known are in fact white Americans. And so I think that is something worth remembering. And if you haven't read Ellison's Invisible Man, go do so. And if you haven't read it in a while, go back and read it again. It's a remarkable piece of literature. The other thing I will say, for any of you that may have missed it, at our February 6th board meeting, unexpectedly, we had an amendment that would have stripped our equity policy of the language around explaining and describing and noting our responsibility for structural and historic inequities and racism. And I had to deliver a lesson on the fly on the history of the old Fourth Ward by way of explaining that that statement in our equity policy is about facts. And that it is our job, in fact, to teach the facts. And so if you haven't seen it, I would appreciate it if you look at it. Thank goodness the board voted that amendment down 7-1, but it is forever a fight. And I just hope everyone's paying attention, because it was a day board meeting. I don't think most people were watching. There wasn't a lot of controversial stuff that people knew about ahead of time on that agenda, and up this popped. And so it's, as I said, it's the February 6th meeting. It's under a section on the equity policy. And I would hope that people would take a look at it to understand that we're continuing to work through these issues every day. So just wanted to add that, but also just to say how spectacular what our young people are doing is, and that it is good for the entire community when this work happens. So
great.
I'd like to say that if you haven't seen Joanna.
Odessa had her hand up, and then I'll go to you. Odessa, did you have your hand up?
Okay, I just want to say, yeah, can you hear me?
Sort of.
I just want to say on behalf of the commission, I want to thank Will for excellent programming for the Black History Month and food. The food's delicious. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Will. The entire commission appreciates what you've done for the Annapolis community.
So I don't want to keep this going but I have to say this. I appreciate it being attributed to me, but I think we all know whenever we do anything like this, so many
Adetola, so many people.
It's so many people that are a part of the process and kind of have a shared vision that it makes it happen, including our mayor, who has created a space for these kinds of conversations, events, and things. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's not just me. Yeah.
Okay. Jess, did you have a quick point?
I was just going to say that I just wanted to thank you, Will, for all you've done. And I think it's so important to have that education and knowledge taking place in our schools, so that in the future, other people will be able to jump to the floor like Joanna did at that meeting and respond about our history here in Annapolis, and speak up on behalf of our community as a whole, because there are some people who are not interested in that. And it was really, really important. And thank you, Joanna, for doing that. And thank you to everyone who makes sure that this information and history is shared and is out there, so that when those conversations do come up, we can all have that information and knowledge to share and to pass along.
So I want to add one thing I forgot to say, and I have to say this on behalf of teachers, because it may not be written into the curriculum, and they may not even have time to deviate from those things. But when I go talk to these young people, they know so much, and you can tell that they're already being given this information, and there's conversations taking place. So, I really thank the teachers as well, because we think that, and the notion is that they're not, rounding out their experience, their educational experience with these types of things, and they actually are, in my experience. So shout out to teachers.
And actually, just to add to that, I was at Annapolis Elementary yesterday for something else. And if you walk through, there's a whole wall they've put up, sort of African-American heroes and the universities they went to. And Dr. Bedell is actually one of them, with the Fisk.
I saw that. And
so
every school, Dr. Tobin, I mean, you know that more than me, but it's every school.
Yeah. Every school.
They're all, they're really, putting front and center this particular month. But I'd imagine it's for every other month too. So we have to keep staying on the fact that we are teaching and educating them about all things, right? All history, all cultures, because they're going to be better citizens as a result of it.
Yep.
You know, they're going to love each other a lot more.
Yep.
So Dr. Tobin, I'll open the floor to you if you want to give us any updates. I do have some materials from Mr. Mosier, and he sent, as some of you might know, Dr. Tobin and Dr. Bedell and other members of the AACPS senior staff team came in front of the City Council on January 31st. And gave a presentation and then opened themselves to some questions. So I have a few follow-up things from that, but if you wanted to talk, Dr. Tobin, I'll let you.
Yeah, let me say a couple of things. So one of the most important that everybody needs to be aware of is that at our last board meeting, February 21st, we voted through our budget. And this, of course, is one of the biggest things that we do every year. We have been told that it's a tough budgeting year. We're opening 2 new schools. There's a dip in money from the state. There's a bunch of things. We ended up, I actually brought the amendment. It was passed. What had initially been proposed in our budget was a 3% cost of living increase for our employees, all of our employees, teachers, all our bargaining units. We also heard in testimony that for many of our employees, that will leave them still kind of behind when it comes to there are healthcare costs going up, there's inflation, there's various other things. And as you may recall, while we've had a couple of good budget years, that's been making up for really years and years and years of underfunding. I was particularly concerned about what I was hearing about the COLA. While I'm concerned about our teachers, I was even more concerned about our food service workers, our custodians, our TAs, our TSAs, many of whom are some of our lowest paid employees, and really are not making a living wage at this point. So I brought an amendment and it was passed to add an additional 2% COLA to the 3% proposed, but it would take effect next January rather than in July of this year, because that will push some of the cost off a little bit, which will mean that employees will effectively get a 4% COLA next year, but then by the end of the year would start the following year having received a 5% increase. So it would set people up for a higher increase the following year. Obviously, there are, among our funders, there are concerns. Again, if you wish to look at my comments, I was very precise about the fact that we have reached a point, in my view, that this is just not something we can continue to sit on. As I said, particularly my concerns about our lower paid employees. We need to pay people a living wage, and we're not even at the tax cap in this county right now. So there are decisions that are going to have to be made about the revenue streams. Obviously, that's always a tricky thing, but I would suggest this has particular importance for the Annapolis cluster. And in fact, I've asked, Jess had brought this up and I agree with her. I have asked our folks to begin to see if we can pull the data in some way. As you can imagine, it's a little tricky to really begin to determine how many of our employees are actually living in public and subsidized housing, because that's another indicator here that we need to be looking at. And I think the usual pushback is, okay, so if you want more money for compensation, where are you prepared to take the other cuts? To which I say that's a false choice. There is a way for our funders to increase the revenue streams if they need to. And I just think we need to be honest about what is needed. And
can I elaborate on that, Joanna?
Sure.
Just so people, when you're talking to other people, or if you're talking in front of the county council, budgets, like those who have not been in our schools don't realize how crucial those TAs, those food service workers are. When we were short on food service workers last year, the lines for Annapolis High, kids waited in line for 20, 25 minutes to get their lunch, instead of being able to go to a help session, instead of being able to do other things that they needed to better themselves at school, because of that shortage. You're short like 3 positions or something, and it affects hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids.
Isn't that part of the reason why they got rid of Panther Hour at the high school?
We don't want to go into that.
That's a different issue. I don't think that's, but I will say this.
It did affect those, the pay levels of those positions, and not being able to fill them did affect a much larger body of our students. And if people can communicate that, that would be helpful.
I mean, we were told that was one of the reasons that Panther 60 is now Panther 30. That was one of the reasons.
Yeah, and I don't know if that has been part of the discussion, but here's what I do know about the food service workers. It's a disproportionate effect on the more vulnerable students, right? The kid who brings their lunch is not impacted by this in the same way. So, there's similarly, our TAs, our TSAs often care for and assist some of our most vulnerable students. So the equity implications of this are big. But I will say we have to understand that none of this is getting passed if there's not a lot of advocacy. I mean, that's just the reality here. It's a politically tough decision for county council folks to make and for the county executive to make. There will be lots of people arguing the opposite, right? And but this was passed by the board, and so I'm not advocating for something that isn't what the board decided. In the budget as well, we also passed a couple of amendments upping the number of social workers, upping the number of counselors, upping school psychologists. Already there were a few extra in the budget, but we added more because, again, this is about the realistic need and who the students are who are most impacted by the shortages. This is where the equity rubber hits the road, and it's when it comes to money a lot of the time. So again, I sound like I'm, having everybody like watch me, but I think please do, if you haven't, watch that meeting, see the discussion around that amendment, and also the final, board members make final statements before the board vote. So kind of what people have said and where they stand. But most of all, if you care about this, I hope you will be emailing out to whoever your lists of email contacts are in your various wards and communities that you represent, and encouraging people to advocate with the county executive and then following that with the county council. So that's really the biggest thing right now. We will, upcoming at the next meeting, I see some hands. I'll just say a couple of things before you call on people. I believe at the next board meeting, we have a presentation on our sort of diversity hiring efforts. So it might be worth tuning in to that or at some point watching that meeting. And there was something else on the meeting I was going to alert you to, and I'm now totally blanking on it. Sorry, it's been a long day. But if I think of it, I will email Janet and she can share out with everybody. I mean, the agenda's up as of today, I think. So, or no, it's public on Friday. So I'll take a look. But anyway, but the budget is, of course, as with all things, the big thing right now. So thank you.
Awesome. Okay. I don't know whose hand was up first. I'm going to go to Laura, then Odessa.
Oh, mine was actually really quick. You said about more social workers and guidance counselors and things. I know Blueprint calls for more spending on mental health. Is this above and beyond? part of when we have meetings in our houses, it includes everybody, children,
the dog,
pets,
yes,
dogs, whatever.
My husband just walked in and he's taking the dog, so yeah.
But I just Blueprint includes part of Blueprint was more mental health care professionals. Is the numbers that you're talking about increasing in our budget? Is that in response to Blueprint or in addition to Blueprint, or how is Blueprint affecting that?
So yes, there's a certain amount of spending that is directed in Blueprint, but let me kind of give you the sort of big picture of how Blueprint works, because I think this is something that people I've mentioned it before, but in this case we can kind of have some specifics to put with it. I mentioned early in another meeting with you folks that one of the core tenets of Blueprint is the money follows the child, right? So what happens is, as I said, you could have schools that have high numbers of students on free and reduced meals, high numbers of students with IEPs, high numbers of students who are English language learners, and those schools will get requisite money with that, which then translates into staffing, right? So the flip side of that is if you're a school that doesn't have a lot of students with IEPs, that doesn't have a lot of kids with free and reduced meals, that doesn't have a lot of English language learners, you're going to get less money. And so there may have to be a reallocation of staff, right? Because again, we know this from the Annapolis cluster, right? That it's always been this kind of tussle where traditionally what superintendents have done in this state has been to sort of say, well, we got a certain amount of money, we want to sort of spread it out evenly, quote unquote, around the schools. Well, that, equity kind of becomes lost in that sometimes. So the next step in understanding where our funding, what this means for our funding is, as a county, if we are deemed, there are various calculations that tell you if you're paying according to your wealth, and based on that, you get more money from the state. Well, we are currently getting a lower amount of money from the state because we are not putting in the amount of money that our wealth would dictate. So the latest numbers are we're the 6th wealthiest county in the state. We are now 13th in what we spend in revenue, which translates into what we spend per student per year. Why? Because we get less from the state. It's an inverse thing, right? If we were spending more according, in line with our wealth, we'd actually be getting more money from the state. So we are leaving money on the table effectively because we're underspending based on the wealth calculations. Now, some people will come back at you and say, well, our wealth calculations are really messed up. Howard County comes off as less wealthy than we are. That can't be true. Well, the reason Howard County comes off as less wealthy has to do with the fact that they have proportionately more of their students in public school. We have a bunch of private schools in this county. So we basically lose that money, right? So the way the calculations go, we have fewer students. So, and because of the, our CFO can go through the whole formula for you, but essentially we've done it to ourselves, right? Because we've underfunded our education system for a very, very long time. We've encouraged the growth of private schools. And I'm not trying to diss private schools. I'm just saying that the net result is that we put ourselves in a less advantageous financial situation vis-a-vis the state. So if we up our spending relative, closer to where we should be in our wealth, we'd actually also be getting more money from the state, which would be part of these blueprint requirements that we have. So that was a long answer. There's nothing simple with blueprint, but
okay. I'm gonna go to Modesta, and then I'm gonna call on myself, and then Jess.
Hi, Dr. Tobin.
Hi.
Can you comment on that article that was in? Can you comment on the article that was in the Capitol about the money being sent back to the state? That I thought that we could use, because the commission has been asking for a guidance counselor or a social worker, something like that. And according to the article, that could have been spent on an additional guidance counselor.
So I would urge all of you.
Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I do. I do. And so there's the best place to go for that answer. I'll give you a short answer, but first I'll direct you to a presentation we had on this at the last board meeting by Matt Stansky, where he goes through in depth exactly what happened, why, when, etc. So two things. It was unfortunate that that was the result of an audit that the IG did statewide. And because it was statewide, I guess, they did not inform the districts that were impacted that this report would be released. So we learned about it when the newspaper article appeared. The bottom line is we got money that was, if you've dealt with these grants before, they are very circumscribed, right? That there are these very particular ways you can spend the money. And woe to the system that spends the money on something that is not precisely prescribed. Unfortunately, we hit a couple of things. We hit the fact that we had supply chain issues. Some of this was Chromebook stuff and other tech that we simply couldn't even contract for within the time frame that we had. And there was another part of it, I forget where I think the expenditure was on staffing around community. These were part of the concentration of poverty grants, so they're around community schools. And quite literally, we were in a place where the schools were closed and the hiring, it was a complex kind of, can we get them open and someone hired in the time frame that we have, and we couldn't at that time. But I will leave it. I really suggest that anybody who's interested in this, go back, watch the section of the meeting. It's under the superintendent's report in the last board meeting. Matt Stansky gives an extensive explanation and takes some questions on it. And I think it does lay out what happened. Everybody's frustrated about it, but I think we also understand that if we had spent the money that we weren't supposed to spend in an area we weren't supposed to spend it in, there would be another story. So, and MSDE also owned as a part of this report that they had not given clear guidance to systems on how to do this. And there's a paper trail. We tried to get that guidance. You know, we didn't just sit there and go, darn, they didn't give us good guidance. We just didn't get it. So that's kind of where that has landed. But Matt's discussion should fill in a lot of gaps for people.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying on that.
Okay, thank you.
So I wanted to bring up the meeting of AACPS in front of the City Council. I came and attended that, and thank you for kicking that off with a communication to say, hey, we need everybody involved in this effort. And the Annapolis Education Commission is an important part of that everybody. I was a little disappointed that after the superintendent's presentation, there were not more questions asked. And I would encourage all of our ward members here and our at-large members, please continue to engage your city council and get them to speak up for the schools. Because in all aspects, in the county budget, in everything going forward, in the bus development plan, please continue, because I didn't see the engagement that I wanted to see for school issues. I mean, Dr. Bedell was there ready to receive questions. He did not get them.
No.
Now, one of the questions that was asked was about the chronic absenteeism rate.
Yep.
And just a reminder to everybody that the way the Maryland State Department of Education calculates chronic absenteeism, it does not matter if you were attending a college visit, if you were sick, if you were going to your grandmother's funeral. All those excused absences also are counted in a chronic absenteeism rate if you miss 18 days out of the 180 days.
Yep.
So, you know, if you're attending a STEM program at the Naval Academy before the school year is over, you are counted as chronically absent. I'd like it if we could get MSDE to change and refine that, if you have a way of communicating with them. But so the last published data on Maryland Report Card was that Annapolis High had a 40.1% chronic absenteeism rate, 18 days or more missed. Now, Dr. Bedell said, well, that's not current. And so I've been trying to get the data on that. Mr. Mosier just sent it to me prior to the meeting. But I also want, when we talk to our elected officials and our representatives, I want them to know the current situation of Annapolis High. Like, I want them to understand it, see what they can do to improve it. So I'm going to read you what Mr. Mosier said. He said, as of January 30th, Annapolis High had an average daily attendance rate of 90.6%. And 70% not chronically absent rate. So that means 30% chronically absent. Just less than 91% of the students show up at Annapolis High every day, and 70% attend school more than 9% of the time. And they shared that with the one council member that asked, but I think it's something that needs to be shared, so all of us have the same working information.
Yep.
Same data we're going after. Okay, so is that, you know, what can we do to improve that with bus situation? What can we do to improve that with healthcare? What can we do to improve that with outreach? We still have a 30% chronically absent rate. And I remember this from a number of years ago. I've been involved in the school system for the last 18, 20 years. We had a 27.9% chronic absenteeism rate long before COVID.
Right.
So this is an ongoing issue of our students are not there and enough. And how do we engage them more to be in school and learning things?
Well, let me offer one other advocacy route around one possible help in this situation.
Laura, can you bring that up on the screen? Because I know where you're going. Our AACPS staff was at the General Assembly today advocating for Senate Bill 990 and House Bill 881
Yeah.
that Dr. Bedell mentioned to the city council. And so we want our city council to promote this and advocate for this also. And I'll let you explain what it does for flexibility and the 180-day rule of MSDE.
So as you all know all too well, we in Maryland are under a rule that says we have to be in school both 180 days a year and a minimum number of hours. And because of that, we have a kind of crazy calendar, right? We have these early release days because they still count as a day. We have, we know that if we go over our 3 days of inclement weather, we start adding days in June because we have no flexibility, right? If we went over our 3 days and we had flexibility, we could figure out a way to add 15 or 20 minutes to the school day, right? And get out of school on time, not have kids in school in June. And most teachers will tell you instruction in days in June means very little, right? It's just not a time of year that you get as much done. You have the kind of engagement often that you would like. So this is the second year we've been advocating for this. This year, the hope is that it will be if it passes, it would be a pilot for this county, not statewide, this county. Now, to be clear, Dr. Bedell is not proposing that he's suddenly going to declare a 4-day school week or teachers are going to get paid less or anything else, because the hours do not change, right? Everything about this says no. You keep them in the same number of instructional hours. You just have the flexibility to shift things around to get you the most effective instructional days. Early release days often aren't the most effective instructional days for students, not to mention they're a pain in the neck for parents a lot of the time. So this is our second run at this. There's still a lot of concern from a number of folks about the idea that somehow this will open up all sorts of, things the superintendent could do. He has made it very clear that he's not doing anything in any school should he have this flexibility that isn't something the community, the families, the teachers, the staff in that school are comfortable with. The reason I raised it when you talked about absenteeism, Janet, is that one thing we do know is we have a lot of students, especially in high school, who need to work. They need to get jobs. And they need some flexibility in their day often. And, Dr. Bedell has even said he thinks actually high school would serve students better, especially given some of the things that Blueprint points towards. If you even gave teachers the option of kind of working shifts, and you literally had a school day where the school was open at 8:30 in the morning until 8:30 at night. So a student could come in and take a math class and then go do a day of work and then come out, take a course in the afternoon or evening. Because we do lose, in Annapolis and some other schools around the county with similar demographics, we lose a lot of our high school kids' attendance simply to their jobs or other needs that they have. So that's just one thing. It's not going to by itself solve the whole problem of absenteeism, but it's one thing that could address that.
Right.
And I do think this flexibility, Blueprint asks us to innovate, requires us to innovate, but we can't be hamstrung in a system that's like a sort of 19th century system and actually innovate. And so, there's a big cultural shift with this when something like this happens. Dr. Bedell even talked about couple of we may have a couple of small elementary schools way down in South County, very rural parts of the county, a lot of farming families. it may make sense for that particular school in that community to do a 4-day school week. Those kids have to ride long bus rides. And, you know, if that were the case and it worked for that school and those teachers wanted to do that, that could be a great option for that school and that community. That's a hypothetical, but that's just an example.
So yeah, so definitely we're going to be tracking this, but please talk to your city council and your mayor and anybody else to advocate for our students.
And your state reps, your
And
state delegates.
Right. So I will send out like your contact information for your state delegates. It's probably like in the education commission being, I'll find out where they did their hearing too, if they were in a subcommittee.
Yeah, I forget which committee, but it's certainly Delegate
Come out of the
Jones.
subcommittee before it can.
Delegate Jones, Delegate Henson, and Senator Elfreth are our 3.
I called them today.
Yeah.
The other thing out of the legislative office, so I sent this around to the Education Commission before the meeting. But also from the legislative office, I called them today. The Board of Ed Policy Committee, the agenda has come out for the March 5th meeting. It still does not have the transportation eligible rider review on policy review. Now I have a message in asking them, when is that ever going to come up? Because it was expected to come up this fall. And I fear like the year is going to slip by without that being a priority for them.
It was supposed to come up this year, right? So between August and June.
It's still a huge priority for us.
Yep.
As a commission. And I want to make sure we keep the pressure on saying it might be down the line for you all. It's a huge priority for us and we need to have that paid attention to. So,
yep.
I'm going to go to Corey and then Jess. Corey, did you want to add something?
I want to talk about the attendance factor or whatever, because I know that this year I have particularly struggled with my kids to get them to go to school. Maybe they have missed the bus. Maybe they are sick and don't feel like it, or maybe sometimes they just don't feel like it. So I had reached out to a PPW worker at the high school, and it was almost like she had nothing. It was like she had no help for me. It kind of was like, okay, well, if your kids don't go to school, then I just have to press charges on you. And that was just that. So that was all I got.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I think speaks a lot to the both overwhelm of their PPWs, but also we make this an issue, but are we committed to solving the issue, right? We can talk all day long about how chronic absenteeism is an issue, but I know that I have worked with Corey and her kids, and I know I've worked with families at Annapolis Middle, and I know we've tried this transportation thing for a year and a half now, or longer, really, with crickets. And so if you're going to say that chronic absenteeism is a problem, but you're not going to do anything except offer incentives, which end up going to the kids who are not chronically absentee because they're not chronically absentee, how are we helping, right?
And criminalizing it for the parents.
Right. I mean,
the parents are like, yes, I know other people who were prosecuted last year when, had to go to court because their child was being home health schooled, had been sent out of school. No home teaching occurred for a month, and then the child kind of refused to go. So, I mean, we are not, and then the parent got a citation, like a court violation. What is it?
Right. And if there's no backup, right? And Corey's, Corey, like if you were to call the school and call the PPW and say, my kids missed the bus, they need to get to school.
Right.
What would be the response?
Oh, nothing. It's right. I think I actually have a text message of where I texted and said that they missed the bus and you couldn't help and nobody else could help. So it was kind of like, okay, that Now my kids are at the top. I think it's what once your kid meets 30 days of missing school, I think then that's when they get that's when you get charges pressed against you. And
Mhm.
I'm close.
Mhm.
I'm real close.
And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a minimum at school pickup and school drop-off times. It's a minimum of $18 from our block. Corey and I live on the same block. From our
Mhm.
block to Annapolis High School
Mhm.
on an Uber. So
And sometimes I don't have it. I mean,
right. So if I'm not
has-
available, right. There's, and certainly her girls are not the only ones that are missing the bus.
Yeah.
Do you think that we have addressed the repercussions from COVID as a nation, not just Annapolis, but the whole nation? Because I think this problem is not just Annapolis; it's everywhere with our young people and
Right.
COVID. It's just a lot of things going on, and maybe we need to address, the issues, the repercussions of COVID and mental illness and things like that. It's a lot going on, and I don't
Well,
think that. Go ahead.
I can tell you I was at the annual equity symposium for the National Association of School Boards, and following that, there was a federal advocacy couple of days, and the top issue for school boards across the country is mental health, and with that, chronic absenteeism. And so to your question, Ms. Ellis, no, we have not. And I'm going to say that when in this county we talk budgets, I mean, Jess made the point, right? I mean, there are two things here. There's just what's available for transportation. No, we don't have backup, right? We don't. We have a bus that comes once and can take your kid to school, and that's it. That's what we have. And we don't have public transportation, as you've been discussing, that backs that up, right? That says, okay, well, if you miss that, then. But we also have PPWs who are overwhelmed, counselors who are overwhelmed, social workers who are overwhelmed. I mean, all the places where you could find maybe broader supports are working so often just on triage, right? Like what's the crisis right now? Because that's what they can do with the caseloads they have, with the need that is in front of them. And so when you're advocating, as I hope you will, for our budgets, I think people just have to get real about where the gaps are and whether or not we as a community are prepared to continue to accept them and simply say, gosh, there's nothing, there's only so much money, there's nothing we can do. Because if we wanted to spend the money, and I'm not trying to spin up people's taxes to ridiculous levels, I'm just saying things have a cost. And you have to get real with it. And if you can't meet those needs, you have to say at some point, sorry, we just can't meet those needs. And then the community has to decide if that's acceptable or not and what the response is.
I'd just like to add from observing that meeting between the superintendent and the city council and stuff, it kind of feels like there's a disconnect there that we need to repair, because you the board can vote in a budget and vote in positions for social workers and other things. Unless the administration decides to place them at Annapolis High or other Annapolis cluster schools, it doesn't happen. And right now it feels like there's a squabble between parenting partners of like, no, it's your responsibility to do this. No, it's your responsibility. And I think that needs to be worked out because each party is feeling like, well, the other should be taking care of it. And when you are a committed parent, you know that somebody has to step up, even if the other partner is off and is AWOL. Like, you can't leave the kid stranded because you have to step up and do that role. So I want us to, like, I don't want the social worker position in Annapolis High to be part of the squabble. I want it put there, regardless of whatever it takes.
I mean, here's what I will say, and whatever's going on with the position, that's not a squabble. That may be a disagreement over the data that's used to make those decisions, right? But there is data behind. You may disagree with the data, but there's a logic behind those decisions. Now, I've advocated for what we need here in this cluster. And I think, you know, we're slowly shifting some of the things that were the way decisions were made previously. And so I think we're getting to a better assessment. But I will just say, you know, Lyndon Johnson famously said to Martin Luther King, when Martin Luther King said to him, okay, how are we going to get the voting rights passed? And Johnson said, you got to make me. And that's what has to happen, right? We have to advocate in such a way that we make this happen. And that's what it's going to take, because you know, we, the board, have spoken on what we think is necessary for this budget. And it is now going to be up to the county executive, and then following him, the county council, to explain to the public if they choose not to fund what we have requested, and to, you know, presumably what could change that is if it's sufficiently uncomfortable to have to explain why they don't fund it.
Okay, we go to Jess and then Corey.
So first of all, I don't know if we should do this. We've done this in the past, but I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting to 8:30 p.m.
Okay.
I really have to leave.
Not that you have to stay.
Yeah.
Not that you have to stay. I'm just saying us as a whole.
I
like
know.
the
I don't think
commission.
you need a motion. I've cleared it with Madeline, and she is available.
So my one question I had is I watch what's happening in the other counties as well. And I think it's important. I think it's important to watch what's happening in other clusters. One of the concerns I have is how Montgomery County just changed the way that their Title I numbers are calculated. And they are no longer using free and reduced meals in the school, but they're using direct assistance from the government, which obviously eliminates everybody who is undocumented. And then it also eliminates everybody who doesn't feel or who doesn't go through the process, right? It's a process. It's a big process to get to receive direct assistance from the government. It's a much bigger process than receiving free and reduced meals. And I'm wondering, is there any, I would think it's a major concern. Is there any chance that a CPS will do something similar?
I have not ever heard that raised.
Okay.
You have my promise that I would never support such a thing. And I think it would sit very badly with Dr. Bedell and our administration to do that. Now, that being said, you know, USDA and everybody will tell you that farms has gotten used in a way that it was not intended to be used, but it is the proxy we have right now.
Right.
And unless and until a better proxy emerges, I'm not prepared to move off of it. And I have the same concerns that you do with that kind of metric. I don't know what's going on behind it at Montgomery County, but it's just inherently, there's so many problems with it in my view that I would not support such a thing. But I have literally not heard a peep about that in our district. So
Okay. It made me really concerned.
yeah.
And I have other questions, but I know you have to go, so I'll let Corey go.
Yeah, and Jess, you can always call me if you have something else that you are concerned
Corey,
about.
Corey, did you want to talk just quickly before Dr. Tobin has to go?
Really quickly, I wanted to talk about the fact that the kids in the Eastport neighborhood, I don't know who they are exactly, but they're smoking weed on the bus, and it makes the children not want to catch the bus to go to school.
Yep. I just brought this up to me. I've had this conversation. I'm continuing to have this conversation with the superintendent. So there's a bit of a catch-22 here where technically our transportation department is trying to continuously adjust and make our routes more efficient for a lot of good reasons. On the other hand, that can have other implications. And there are a few buses where this has become a particular issue, and we're kind of struggling with it right now because bus drivers have to drive, right. And let me just say we're aware of this and we're trying to work on it as best we can, because it's a real issue. It's often the kids who most need to get on the bus and get to school who are saying, I don't want to sit in the middle of that, and I can't blame them. So we're trying to figure it out.
Plus, with the worst issue in Eastport is the later bus. And so if you miss your bus and then you can hop over and get on that bus, but then the kids don't want to get on that. I will tell you that I reported it to transportation, and I was told that unless I called back and called my administrator with an exact time of when my child saw somebody smoking weed on the bus, then there's nothing they could do about it, which they're using vapes. So who knows which person on the bus is using vapes. B, the whole bus smells like a bag of weed. So that doesn't show up on a video. And
right.
I think,
and that's where we're trying to figure out between the sort of legal parameters we have to work within, how can we begin to address this? So, yeah.
Corey, did you want to mention the bathroom issue also at that time?
Oh, yeah. They also smoke cigarettes and weed in the bathroom at the high school. That's another thing that's very uncomfortable, which also contributes to the fact that of why my kids don't want to go to school, because it's just uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable environment for them.
Yep. Yep. If I could wave a magic wand and build schools the way I think they should be built, we would have single-use bathrooms everywhere, and that would begin to address some of these issues, not all of them. This has been, unfortunately, it was a problem when my kid was at Annapolis High. It's been going on for a very long time. It's a tough one. I have to tell you, it's a very tough one, because you're right. It completely contributes to being a very uncomfortable environment for a lot of kids.
Yeah. Can I add a positive note that when I was at the county executives listening session on the District 6 budget, I made it a point, it was an evening meeting, I made it a point of going into the girls' bathroom next to the cafeteria and counting how many stalls had functioning locks. And because, like you said, my oldest graduated in 2018, and he would walk out of the school and go to Subway to use their bathrooms, because the bathroom situation has persisted badly through many people. It's not one person's responsibility, but it's an ongoing problem that needs ongoing attention. I emailed the principal of Annapolis High to let her know that 2 out of the 5 bathroom stalls, or 40%, had no functioning lock. And she followed right up with an email the very next day, said they would check on them throughout the building. She reported back to the PTA meeting and to me that they have now fixed all the locks within the building in the boys and girls bathroom. So I just want to tell people to use the power of emailing those responsible. Like, you know, she's not the maintenance person that helps, but like she's the director at that school, and email and let them know there's a problem that you want to see fixed. And I was very pleased with her.
Yeah.
responsiveness.
And here's something I will say as well. When I was talking earlier about compensation for example, our custodians, who are the people who have to be in an all weathers and who we depend on. One of the ways money has been saved over many years is slowly each custodian has been responsible for bigger and bigger square footage.
Yeah.
And there's a cost to that. There's a cost to that. So, you know, the old adage of do more with less or do whatever. I am not for 1 minute saying we shouldn't be as efficient as we possibly can with every cent we have. But you have to understand the cost when we are not spending the money for the staffing that we need. And that also goes to maintenance personnel. It goes to a whole host of things. And these are, you know, what you're seeing on the ground. And I'm glad to hear, and it doesn't surprise me that Ms. Whalen got back to you very quickly. And, you know, it should be an easily fixable thing, and it was. But the fact that it took you to say that suggests there's not a lot of eyes on all of this all the time. And I think there's some reasons for that. So,
Which can be a shout out for the Be Present initiative, except that I don't know anyone yet at Annapolis High School who has applied for Be Present and gone through the training who has been given a slot to come into the school. So they're ready to be present, but no one has asked them to be present.
okay.
So
I know we've got them in the middle schools, but not in the high school, you're saying.
that is what I'm being told.
Okay. Thank you.
Odessa or Corey, did either one of you have anything you want to follow up?
I want to see is that when they legalize marijuana for medicinal purposes, up until then, you know, the kids, you know, I mean, some were getting high, but by the time I returned from Annapolis High School, the older marijuana was so strong coming on those kids and in the hallways and things like that. So it's a societal issue. I don't know what we can do as a society, and you know, to help our kids, because the government is working against us, the way I look at it.
Yeah. The addiction levels and accessibility of the vapes and everything else is wreaking havoc on our kids.
Which, you know, circles back to mental health stuff too. I mean, the question is why? I mean, some of it is, you know,
The
anyway.
city has a new community services manager. Is that her title? Yes. That I will reach out to, and we'll see, you know, what more we can include and how to collaborate there.
Yep.
Our
Yep.
students are not bringing these problems into the school system to as large a degree. What can we do to fix that?
Including forecasting the problem that will happen in about 6 months of access to Chromebooks.
So, yep.
Okay.
All right, ladies, I'm going to, I believe
Thank
that's all, or
Yes.
Will and ladies.
Thank you so much, Dr.
I have to
Tozer.
go.
We
Thank
appreciate
you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a good night. See you soon. And do check out some of the meeting stuff I mentioned to you.
I will send them links to that. Thank you.
Great. Good night.
Moving on to item number 9 on the agenda, public advocacy dates. I will be sending you links to when the county council.
Access to what?
I'll be sending links to the Odessa, your speaker's still on, to like emailing the county executive and our mayor and city council and other people, so that you can, and also that General Assembly bill, so we can advocate for any of those issues. I will follow up with the transportation, the legislative office to see if our eligible ridership policy thing is going to move out of the morass it's stuck in. And then communication from AACPS. Jess, you have a quick update or just status that you want to discuss?
So I did some research and about the communication issue. So for just to a very quick, very brief background, and then it'll carry on to the next meeting. But basically, right now, the way the communication system works at AACPS, when you fill out your forms, you say, this is my phone number, this is my email, and I prefer to be contacted via text or via email or via phone. And then ideally, they contact you via whatever you've said that you want to be contacted by. But that's not happening automatically. And so within the school system, within the schoolhouse, they can choose to, send everything out by email or send everything out by phone. So there's an issue there in that in particularly in the Annapolis cluster schools, the majority of our families do not use on a regular basis email. That doesn't even touch, so that's a big issue, right? It doesn't even touch the fact that those of us who do use email in the post-COVID, everything comes through email now. Nothing comes any other way but through email universe. Email, I mean, I constantly have to be like, oh, wait, I sent that. Did I get a response from that? I don't know, because today I got 800 emails. I mean, not literally 800, but I probably get at least 350 emails every single day, right? So it is impossible if you're, working or to keep up on all the things. So that's an issue. If the school system, if you've said, I want to get things through text, and the school system is sending things out through email, not through text, then you're missing them either because you don't have email, like many of our families, or because your email is a hot mess, and that's why you asked not. So for example, this winter, there's in winter every year recently, there's been a virtual online book club, which is fantastic. And it's a great opportunity. And the kids meet once a week and with teachers from around the county. And it's a really neat opportunity. However, the invitation was only sent out through email. So at schools, for example, like Eastport, a lot of our families didn't see that access, that option. And so they weren't able to take advantage of it, so there's one in just sort of ensuring that we're being consistent and that if something goes out, it goes out through all of the mediums that are available so that everybody who needs it gets it. And then the other issue is that so much of what we send out through the school system now, this is particularly through the school system, so many of the school system communications are sent out as a link to a website that opens a PDF. And that is a problem because particularly in the Annapolis cluster and a couple other clusters as well, we have a large number of families who use pay by the minute. Why can I never remember the name of this type of phone? But pay-go phones, but basically, pay in advance phones. And those phones do not come with large data plans, and they do not come with large data services. So I did some research over the last month, and I went into Verizon and AT&T. I went into a few T-Mobile stores, and I called some different things, and just to make sure that what I was hearing from my parent friends was in the reality, and the most families, you have a very hard time downloading, opening, and reading Adobe PDF if you are on a pay by the minute phone, if you're on that type of phone, if you're on that type of plan, because those plans don't come with the data levels that even the very lowest base. So like if you have, Verizon, for example, you have the very lowest based plan where you pay for amount of data, and then at the end of that amount of data, it's used up and you're done for the month unless you pay extra or something else. Or you have I'm going to pay, for this phone, and then when it runs out of everything, then it runs out of everything. Those phones don't come with the type of data plans that you need to download the PDF app, let alone the actual PDFs. So when 98% of the communications from the school system that you need to read, including report cards, including letters about, on-site incidents, security incidents, safety incidents, including all sorts of things, very important things. Most of the most important communications that come from the school system come through PDF. If you aren't able to access that on your phone, and you don't have email, and you don't have a computer and any other way to access it, then you don't have access to that information. And it's a problem, and it's something that I think, because it is particularly a problem in our cluster, that we need to try to figure out, what we can do to advocate for changing that sort of focus on PDFs. And I personally, as a marketing and web designer, I don't understand why everything has to come as PDF and why it can't just be a link to a web page, and why all of that information can't just be. I understand personal information like a report card, but even that, you could have a report card that goes to a password protected, just like our PDFs are, web page. There are certainly ways to do that, and I think that we need to, as a commission, advocate to make our communications more accessible, because families and parents are missing out. And then we say, well, the parents aren't involved, or, all of the issues that we talk about on a regular basis with our families. If we're not going to make it, if the barriers are coming from within the school system, we're never going to surpass those barriers, right? We can't, we have to take away the internal barriers, then we can work on the external barriers. So that's all I had to say. That's my thing about communication.
Yep, that's a great point. And if you have any specifics of ways you can, modes that they should be using, and we can recommend, that'd be great. Also, I think that's another reason why it's important that you started, and Laura and I help with, and other people do, like the community Facebook page for Annapolis High and stuff. People are need to get their information through the easiest means for them. And sometimes it's that means, and we have to honor that. I mean, I know my parents, who were both working, certainly did not spend, half an hour to an hour a day reading school missives. Like, they were busy working. So we need to make it more easier on our families to find out what's going on. Okay, Corey, and then Laura. Whoops. Corey, did you have anything you wanted to add, or I'll go to Laura?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything else.
Okay, all right. You still had your hand up, so I just wanted to make sure. Laura, did you have something?
Well, I just wanted to comment that, and what happens in a lot of the schools is that they resort to getting another product, like, because the school system communication is so cumbersome. I think both Annapolis Middle and I know Bates use some more. And I will say, at Bates, the secretary in our, give a shout out to Ms. Clark in our main office, does an amazing job putting together a weekly newsletter that has everything that's happening in the school. And the PTA pays for this, which we're happy to do, because it is a huge benefit. Like, I have been trained after 3 years at Bates that I know that if I need information about something coming up at the school, I go and look at our Cougar Chronicle first, because I know the information will be in there. But the PTA pays for that, which I'm glad that we can do that. But why do we have to depend upon a PTA to spend $150 or $180 or whatever it is a year to enable our schools to communicate to our families? That seems like a very basic functionality that should be taken care of by the school system. And I 100% agree with the PDFs. I also argue with the PDFs is that if you have a family that is only able to access the internet on a phone, even if you can download it, you can't read the damn thing because PDF is a printable document format. That's what the P stands for, printable, piece of paper. This, not the size of this piece of paper, much, much smaller. So you're shrinking something down to fit onto a screen. It is basically illegible. So using PDF as our main mechanism for communication makes very little sense. We have the ability to put information out there on a website, as Jess said, we have PowerSchool. PowerSchool it provides a password protected portal for parents to access. And we can get in to do things like sending absentee messages, things like that. We can access it for some things. We should be using it for a lot more than we are. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Laura. So moving on, number 10, PTA events or school events or other things we want to highlight. Seeing that we're at 8:28 and we really need to wrap up ASAP. Laura, you had just one thing, reflections winners. Yep.
Can I unmic? Okay, I'm going to be really quick. This is really exciting. The PTA every year does the National PTA puts on a reflection contest, and it is a way for students to react to some kind of a theme through a series of, or through their method of, through an art form. So like film, music, photography, dance, visual arts, and literature are the categories. And so students can react. This year's theme was I Am Hopeful Because, and students, it's an optional thing that students can submit to their school PTA, and then they go from the school to the county. If the top 3 in each category can move on from the school to the county, the top 3 from the county move on to the state. These are the students in our county that are now moving on to the state for competition. And I just wanted to give a shout out because we've got 3 kids from Bates in the middle school literature category. And there is 3 kids from West Annapolis West Annapolis, Annapolis Elementary School. It's 2 from West Annapolis and 1 from Annapolis Elementary School. That had entries that are moving on to the state level competition. And I just want to give a shout out. I think it's amazing. We're doing amazing things with arts in our schools and teaching kids how to use the arts as a means for expressing themselves. Again, part of mental health. Kids need to be able to express their feelings, and being able to do that through art is a really healthy mechanism that we're encouraging students to do. And so I just wanted to give a shout out for that.
Awesome.
And I think Jess had one other thing here in community. Whoops. There we go. Jess, you want to talk about that?
Yes. Annapolis Middle School is having a career and resource fair, opportunities for all ages, on March 9th from 12 to 2. There will be food, STEM activities. Well, you can read it. It says all those things. Food, STEM activities, local partners. If you are interested in participating, reach out to Amy Beller at Annapolis Middle School. Annapolis Middle School is really focusing on making sure kids are aware of the multitude of opportunities that are available to them in the future, both during high school and post high school. So, which is a great opportunity that's happening because of the community schools program and Amy Beller and our awesome middle school. And Annapolis Middle School is awesome, and everyone should go there.
Great. Thank you, Jess.
Also, I just wanted to say Annapolis High School is going to states for FBLA, and Annapolis High School scored 1s in the county band competition today. So 39 students qualified from Annapolis High to go to states for Future Business Leaders of America, and all students who participated in the band got 1s. I don't really know what that means, but it's really exciting.
It's the top
Is
score.
the highest performance
Yes,
level in the various categories. It's a very high achievement that shows the things. I also want to add that the Annapolis High Navy Junior ROTC program had a brain brawl competition against like 7 other junior ROTC programs and came in first, against Loudoun County and many others from all over. So they're rocking it as well. So many good things happen in our schools. We also put on the Eastport Forum and in the Annapolis High community page, the program that Annapolis High is helping students enroll at Anne Arundel Community College, either while you're in 11th or 12th grade for free credits, or after our 12th graders matriculate from high school into their AACC career paths. So we're very happy. There's great help out there. Check those 2 Facebook sources if you want to help somebody in your community find their next path, because I think we all need to reach out and help people get over their bureaucratic hurdles to do these things. Okay.
I wanted to add with the reflections stuff. It's on display at the Board of Ed, and at the March 20th school board meeting, they will be acknowledging the students that have moved on to states. But if you're at the Board of Ed meeting on Board of Ed office on Riva Red, stop in and admire the artwork that our student artists produced.
I wanted to add as new business that, Annapolis, myself and a number of other Annapolis high school parents have put together a survey about the student and family reactions to Panther 30 versus Panther 60, the structured free time, as well as some other questions just about Annapolis High. So that will be going out, and I will present on what we've learned at the next meeting.
Great. And if you don't understand, Panther 30 versus Panther 60 is the Panther blocks are in the middle of the day, where previously each day had sessions where you could go to a teacher and redo a test if you were sick. You could get help in material that you didn't understand. You could, see people and communicate, not just during your lunch period. So maybe you're less chatty in class because you got to see your friends and you could focus in class. So that has been greatly reduced this year, or attending clubs. That has gotten greatly reduced. So Jess's survey has to do with that reduction in the time to get those items within the school day. Okay, if you want to email me anything following the meeting that you would like me to put on next month's agenda, we need to talk about the date of next month's agenda, because unfortunately, our 4th Wednesday of the month falls within the AACPS spring break calendar. So we are not going to be meeting on March 27th. And I need the proposal for when we can meet. There is a nighttime meeting of the Board of Ed on March 20th, the 3rd Wednesday of the month. So Dr. Tobin would not be able to join us and other things. I would love it if we could have an in-person meeting, if possible. But does anyone have a that we could consider maybe March 21st, Thursday, March 21st, as a possible meeting date? Or we need to come up with some meeting date?
Thursday is fine with me.
I'm not available on Thursdays. I work.
Okay. All right.
Tuesday. We do
go ahead.
Wednesday the 13th. Would that work? That puts us 2 weeks ahead of.
That's pretty close to when we just.
2 weeks.
Yeah. What about Tuesday the 26th? So maybe we're either at Thursday the 21st. What about Tuesday the 20th? Oh, that's still
spring break. Yeah.
Whole week is out. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So Tuesday the 19th. Of
we have
March.
It's a 2-hour early dismissal that day, but otherwise.
I need to hear from you which one more.
19th would work fine for me.
Okay.
If it's during spring break, I could attend, but I can't necessarily be in person. But I strongly believe that, if we're going to do it in person, I hope that we can figure out how to do it hybrid, because it's 2024 and we've been doing hybrid events, PTA meetings. I don't know why we can't do them at city commission meetings.
Yep, the city's still not supporting it. For my understanding, they also required us to get permission to have an in-person meeting, which I don't necessarily agree with.
Jess, can I catch a ride?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
So we either have Tuesday the 19th or Thursday the 21st. Is there a strong preference between those two dates? I guess I'm hearing Tuesday the 19th.
Tuesday, yeah, because Enid said she couldn't do the Thursday, so I would say Tuesday.
Okay, going once, going twice, sold for March 19th, Tuesday as our next meeting. And I will get back to you whether that is in person or going to be online. I would like to invite Mr. Duarte had said he would like to meet with us. So I'm going to see if he's possibly available or we have some other folks.
Is there a particular reason why we want this one to be in person as opposed to maybe the next one, since it is a tight schedule?
We could push it. We could push it to April. I just want to give a chance to have that in-person interaction. And especially if we are meeting Mr. Duarte, I'd like it to be in person rather than online. I think we would get he would get a richer appreciation of us and connection to us if we got to meet him in person.
Our next meeting, the April meeting, is Passover. I don't know, day 2 of Passover. Just
okay. If you can respond to an email from us regarding that April thing, if we could figure out a date for that. Okay. So if you have any things for the following meeting, please let me know. I will follow up with you. Please take a look at some of the things I threw out at you shortly before tonight's meeting. And thank you so much for sticking with us this whole time and talking about important things happening in Annapolis for our kids. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting now. Any second?
I second.
All right.
Second, third.
Everybody seconds. Second the motion.
Unanimous.
Motion passed, meeting adjourned, and